o'clock. Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Here.
Melton.
Here.
Rowe.
Here.
Bagley.
Here.
Harding.
Here.
Mr. President.
Here. Please stand for the pledge and remarks by Councilmember Don Rowe.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you spent much time down here in the last 30 years, you either knew or ran into Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly was a guy that came down here a lot. He lost him Friday. And I thought it'd be nice to just share some thoughts about Mike that I read in the paper. Mike attended and completed his education at Christ the King School, Creighton Prep, and Creighton University, where he was a member of the varsity men's golf team. In 1972, Mike graduated from Creighton University School of Law. Following his graduation from law school, Mike practiced law with his father, the late Thomas P. Kelly. Mike's law practice was diverse, representing clients from all walks of life. Mike also served as a commissioner on the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, having been elected to the then county-wide seat in 1984. After leaving the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, Mike's professional practice was centered on government relations and lobbying, primarily before the Nebraska Unicameral and various state and local government boards and councils, most notably the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission. In addition to Mike's legal practice and government career, Mike and his father, Tom, founded Clancy's Pub, formerly located at 72nd and Pacific Street. Mike was also owner of the famous Zestos on 13th Street, right next to Rosenblatt Stadium, before eventually opening a Zestos and Blatt Beer and Table at 12th and Mike Fahey Streets, next to the Charles Schwab Field. Mike was an avid golfer and sports fan, particularly of his beloved Chicago Cubs and Creighton Blue Jays. Mike was a loving husband, devoted father, and grandfather. Today we offer up a prayer of peace and comfort for his wife, Kathleen, his 3 sons, and 7 grandsons. We'll miss Mike.
Thank you. He certainly was one of a kind and will be missed. We'll intend to have a more formal city proclamation next week and invite the family down for that as well, but thank you for those remarks. Madam Clerk.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of legislative chambers.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Omaha City Council. We appreciate having you here on our many agenda items today. I would encourage you to turn your cell phones off or at least to vibrate. Madam Clerk, the first item, please.
Item 6 is the election of a city council member for District 4. Yep, ballots are being distributed. A majority has not been reached. We have 3 votes for Eric Servan, and that's from Juanita Johnson, Danny Bagley, and Pete Festerson. We have 3 votes for Terry Blackburn from Brinker Harding, Amy Melton, and Don Rowe. A majority has not been reached. We have 3 votes for Ron Hugg from Juanita Johnson, Danny Bagley, and Pete Festerson, and 3 votes for Terry Blackburn from Brinker Harding, Amy Melton, and Don Rowe. A majority has been reached, all for Ron Hugg.
Congratulations, Mr. Hugg, on your appointment to the City Council. There will be a period of time for orientation, of course, for a new council member, and we anticipate a September 26th swearing in. I do want to thank all candidates. I believe all are here today for their interests, and all 12 candidates that submitted in this process. It takes a lot of courage to do that and to go through a process like this, as it does to run for office, and we appreciated everyone's interest and thought there were a lot of great candidates. I do also want to thank City Council members for stepping up during this time and for participating in this process, in particular Vice President Melton for her assistance in this effort, and definitely City Council staff and City Clerk staff too for all your work over the last several months on this issue. And I feel we had a productive group process, and we'll begin a new chapter on City Council District 4, and I know we all look forward to having council at full strength. Thank you.
If I may,
Yes.
I would just like to thank all 5 of the candidates, actually all 12 of the people that put their name forward. I think that the city of Omaha is very fortunate to have so many good quality people who are willing to step up and serve their community. And I hope that everyone continues to do that. And I look forward to supporting all of you in future endeavors and leadership in the city of Omaha. So I guess what I'd like to say to all of them, please don't give up. Thank you.
Thank you. Other points of privilege? Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do want to thank all 12 who submitted their names, and even those who were interested and did not submit at this time, who've expressed an interest in maybe looking forward to serving in some public capacity in the future for the city. But the 12 that I met with, I appreciate your interest in the city and really your sacrifice that you were willing to make on behalf of for your family and yourself for the benefit of the citizens of Omaha. But I also wanted to thank the city of Omaha for their patience. When we started this process, we all knew it was going to be about 5 months, and 5 months way too long. So I do appreciate the patience of the citizens of District 4 and all the citizens of Omaha as we close this chapter and we open a new chapter for those in District 4 and the city of Omaha. And I wish Mr. Hug all the best. I know he has all the best interest of not only District 4, but all of Omaha in mind. And I look forward to serving with you for the remainder of the term and maybe even after that. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. Mr. Bigley.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just wanted to first thank the staff and the candidates that did submit, kind of echoing the comments that my colleagues are making. And I want to thank my colleagues because we went through this process, and it's unique that the 6 of us appointed the successor for this vacant seat. And I learned to appreciate the sacrifice that each of us makes on this council that Mr. Hug is joining us on, and I know he's going to hit the ground running, which I had confidence in all the candidates that submitted that they would do the same. They were eager. I had good conversations with them, all the candidates, and I know in this process, this body does function well together. We had good dialogue back and forth, and we reached a consensus today. It wasn't easy, but the communication was open. Everybody took each other's calls, and I think the process worked good for this. And I look forward to District 4 being represented. I know they'll be represented well, and we're all ready to help Mr. Hug get rolling here when he gets sworn in. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. These are very exciting and yet challenging times that we are experiencing here in Omaha, Nebraska. And this vacancy in District 4 has been vacant for quite a long time. The residents in District 4 have been without a voice. And granted, today we are trying to fill that void. May not be what everyone wants it to be, because of course you didn't have the opportunity to go and vote for your candidate. But under the circumstances, the policy, the procedures that we have in place now, this body, this city council, was charged with trying to do the best that they possibly could do. So I hope that you guys join us with giving Ron all the support that he needs to carry this across the finish line, especially until the next voting cycle. And again, I'm just elated for this time in terms of giving District 4 a voice that they very much need, someone that they can count on, a regular, someone that they can speak to and share their private thoughts or whatever concerns they may have in their district to someone on a regular basis. Again, it may not be what everyone wants it to be, but please understand that this body did try to do the best that it could in making this decision today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, sir. I don't have a lot to add. I agree with all the comments that have been made. I do want to offer up a word of thanks to President Festerson and Vice President Melton for working with staff well to create a process. I know for Mr. Dowding and his team and Eliza and her team, it was a process that needed to be put forth and one that we followed to the T. We didn't waver. And I did appreciate that, and so I just wanted to say thank you to that team for putting the process together and then allowing the process to work.
Thanks. Mr. Bigley.
Last comment, I always forget something. Thanks, Mr. President. I also wanted to thank, I reach out to a lot of people, just people that I've known in the community from all walks of Omaha, and that filled in a lot of blanks for me, and I was comfortable with most all these candidates. But I do want to especially thank the people that took the time to at least allow me to bounce things off them and get perspective, because it's an important role that we take in filling this seat. And there's a lot of people that helped me get to this decision, so I wanted to thank them as well. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. No further lights. Next item, please.
Item 7, a resolution to approve a revision to the 2024 budget to increase the general fund and community service programs by $1 million for Omaha 100, Inc.
So the next several items on the city council agenda are proposed budget amendments, and each has a public hearing and a vote separately. And when I call them up, I'll initially recognize the council member that introduced them in case they want to make an introduction of their amendment, and then we'll have the public hearing and vote on each one separately. So item number 7 was introduced by Councilmember Johnson. You were recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks, everyone, for coming today. This, again, exciting, challenging times that our city is facing, especially after the pandemic, where we're trying to revamp and get back into some space of normalcy. Cities should provide financial support to small businesses in underserved communities, particularly after a pandemic, for a multitude of compelling reasons. First and foremost, these businesses are often the lifeblood of disadvantaged neighborhoods, offering essential services and employment opportunities. By bolstering their financial stability, cities help ensure the availability of critical goods and jobs, ultimately enhancing the community's well-being. Moreover, investing in these businesses promotes economic inclusivity. Historically, marginalized communities have limited access to capital and resources, making it harder for their enterprise to survive. Financial support levels the playing field, fostering entrepreneurship and reducing income inequality. Furthermore, thriving local businesses can attract other investments, stimulating broader economic growth and revitalizing neglected areas. This, in turn, generates increased tax revenue for the city, which can be invested in social programs and the infrastructure improvements, further benefiting underserved communities. In sum, providing financial aid to small businesses in underserved areas post-pandemic is not just a matter of economic recovery, but also an investment in social equality, community development, and long-term resilience. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any proponents on number 7 that would like to speak today? Senator McKinney, welcome.
How you doing? Terrell McKinney, my address,
Please.
5319 North 30th Street, apartment 410, Omaha, Nebraska, 68111. Again, State Senator Terrell McKinney, coming in support of City Councilwoman Juanita Johnson on this item. Investing in small businesses is something I'm a strong advocate for, and it's something I'll always support because I think it's what's needed in North Omaha, especially to change the tide in our community. Especially with the investment that's coming from the state in North Omaha, it's always good to see someone from the city trying to invest in economic activity in North Omaha, especially in our small businesses. A lot of resources go into not-for-profits in North Omaha, but I think a lot of resources should be directed towards for-profit businesses. I think that's, to me, in my opinion, the best way to address a lot of the issues that we face in North Omaha is to start investing in small businesses and business growth, to decrease the amount of crime and poverty, to increase our educational outcomes, and see more viability in our community. So that's why I'm here today, is to support this mission by City Councilwoman Johnson. She called me and asked me would I come and support her, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for being here. Any other proponents on number 7 today?
Good afternoon. My name is Emiliano Lerda, and I live in 5115 Webster Street. Omaha, Nebraska, 68132. My wife and I are co-founders of a business called Elevator. We are a co-warehousing and community concept. We provide warehouse units ranging between 80 square feet to 1,300 square feet, and they're offered on a month-to-month basis. We opened our doors almost 1 year ago, and we're now 90% leased up. We have about 80 businesses in our building, and 70% of them are minority and woman-owned businesses. We believe that this resolution is worthy of our support because our members are working hard to innovate and to provide services and products that our community needs, and it's a great way to stimulate economic vibrancy in the city. So we're happy to lend our support to this resolution, and we're here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents?
Hello, James Overton, 3217 Ohio Street. I'm here in support of Ms. Juanita Johnson in regards to hopefully implementing some sort of actual change or adding some additional value to the actual community. I've been a long-standing member of the community as far as actually from the business perspective, and as I look around the room, I see a lot of actual entrepreneurs, Mr. Clark, like I said, Mr. and Mrs. Ballard, and like I said, Mr. Cook back here. All of us and other individuals that actually have contracting services and different things in the community. They've been provided services and actually doing things for a long time without any community support. I mean, even though the amount of money that's actually being asked for is not a significant amount in the terms of what we can actually do to our community, it's still a boost. Anything to actually help stimulate exactly what we have going on in the community is a positive thing. I mean, whether it's from actually the restaurants, as to the actual construction, to the anything to keep these actual young people off the street and give them an opportunity to show them that they can do it too. That's the thing. Like I said, it's kind of like if you got mentors there inside of the community that I can actually go ahead and show them that there's positive things that they can do with their time and efforts. Like I said, that's something that should be actually supported. It really should. People should actually come in and sit up and say, you know what? These different businesses have popped up. If you've done this, and like I said, in sharing the information and the knowledge and giving it back into the community through this funding is essential at this point in time. It really is. Like I said, if we don't actually come together as a community and actually go ahead and get these initiatives funded for these children, our youth are lost. That's the problem now. They don't have anything to do. Like I said, they're not getting any job opportunities. The more money that's actually funneled into the neighborhoods, into the community, the better opportunity for them to actually go ahead and be successful in life. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other proponents?
Ryan Sell, 2405 Z Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for your time to speak as a proponent for item number 7 on the agenda. As a property owner and business owner, I believe Omaha 100 is an essential tool for development within the neighborhoods that are considered and labeled blighted. These blighted areas create lower property tax revenue for the city and county. Many representatives at every level continue to make promise of property tax cuts. This rarely happens, and when it does, the monetary value is very low for the property owner. It is my belief that the best way to create more revenue is to boost commerce and business within the blighted areas. As business and commerce increases, so do property valuations and investment within the community. This theory has been proven over and over throughout other communities and states. I have personally worked with Ms. Williams and can testify not only of her hard work, but accountability for herself and Omaha 100. This is no way a handout. The funds will be treated as an investment in the community. My agenda today has no monetary value for myself or my business. I'm here today because I believe we continue to speak in circles year after year, and we have to come up with new solutions. This investment is not about blighted areas. This investment is about Omaha and creating meaningful property tax revenue that will lower property tax rates for everyone. Police, fire, streets, parks already cover these areas. The liability for the city already exists. We need to create more revenue. The small investment today should be viewed as a TIF or opportunity zones that already exist in other areas such as the Old Market and by the airport. The best value that we have as a city to increase property tax revenue within the infrastructure that already exists is by voting yes today. If this funding just produces 2 or 3 successful businesses, the rewards of jobs, sales tax, increased property tax valuations, and other revenue will be paid back in tenfold. Omaha 100 holds themselves and the business accountable that it serves. I believe this is a small investment that can pay off immensely for the citizens of Omaha. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other proponents? Please come down. Just so I know, is this the last speaker as a proponent on number 7? Okay, please come down to the front and be ready to go.
All right. Greetings, Raheem Sanders, address 11130 Jones Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Good afternoon, esteemed members of the City Council. Again, I'm Raheem, founder of PPRP Innovations, and I'm here today to urge you to support an award to Omaha 100 through this line item. Omaha 100 is a nonprofit certified community development financial institution and has been serving the Omaha community for over 30 years. They are known to provide home loans, business loans, and real estate development services to low and moderate income individuals and families located in socially disadvantaged neighborhoods throughout Nebraska. Our company has had the opportunity to work with Omaha 100 in the past year to provide data solutions to help them more efficiently use this information to validate their performance and demonstrate impact within the community. Based on what we've learned, Omaha 100 has a proven track record of success in supporting minorities and minority-owned businesses within some of Omaha's most disadvantaged communities. Without sharing all of the information, in the past 3 years alone, Omaha 100 has invested over $8 million in zip codes such as 68111, 68110, and 68108 to people who are majority Black and brown with average ages between 30 and 35. These are professionals, a growing population here in Nebraska. These loans has helped businesses start and expand and create jobs, and most importantly, provide greater hope and change in lives of those who lack access to these essential resources solely due to the zip code. We firmly believe Omaha 100 is committed to helping businesses in socially disadvantaged neighborhoods. We know that these neighborhoods are often overlooked by traditional lenders, but we believe that everyone has the opportunity to succeed. With this small investment, they will be able to increase their capacity to support these socially disadvantaged businesses. This means by providing support, Omaha 100 will be able to provide more loans and offer more financial education and develop resources that can help these businesses succeed. We believe that this investment will have a significant impact on the economic development of Omaha. And I urge you to award Omaha 100 with this investment to help continue to support their work of helping uplift minority-owned businesses in our communities and help create a prosperous future for all of Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you. Next proponent, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, councilmen and women. My name is Karin Sokpo, and I am the president and CEO of the Midlands African Chamber. We are the Black Chamber of Commerce here in town, in this state, the sole one. And it is my pleasure today to speak in support of line item number 7, the proposal brought forward by Councilwoman Jonita Johnson. We'll also like to offer our support to this initiative in support of Omaha 100, which is one of our members. We are over 200 businesses strong in our state, and the three main things that our members always tell us that they need from our city, from our government, is support and to help them in the areas of having funding for their businesses, their small businesses, having connections to grow their businesses, and also to have access to coaching and technical assistance. And I believe this resolution will do all three things. Omaha 100 has been very active in our community, especially in North Omaha, by providing access to those minority and underserved business owners that need all three things. The impacts of this proposal will include providing financial support, increase access and inclusivity, fostering networks and mentorship, and increasing overall visibility and recognition for those small businesses. In terms of outcome for our city, we have economic growth, more tax revenue, job creation, community development, and revitalization of those areas. All that on top of social and economic equity. This resolution will really help with increased innovation in our communities and with entrepreneurship, and we are pleased to support that. Our chambers is located on 7930 Blondo Street, right here in the heart of Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a nice job of adding your address at the end there. I was going to remind you. All right, next proponent.
Martin Williams of Martin Williams International and Dream Business. I want to thank Councilman for reintroducing this. It's very important for us to gather around this idea. Just a couple things from the national.
I don't want to interrupt you, but we do need your address too for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5421 North 103rd Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of statistics from the National Minority Supplier Development Council, a national council. The number one reason that minority businesses should be invested in is because minority businesses produce more than $400 billion of annual revenue to our amazing country. Also, 2.2 million jobs. Secondly, minority-owned businesses contribute over $49 billion to local and state federal taxes. Omaha definitely needs more taxes. Number three, these business owners have the best potential to redevelop their own neighborhoods because they live there. Municipalities that invest in minority businesses also see a dramatic shift in the positive to community development, whether it's family, finance, infrastructure. Crimes go down, there's more community development once there is an investment in that community. Omaha 100 has poised itself as serving in the community with several other nonprofit organizations and for-profit organizations. They're committed to being a part of this community and has been serving it for a while. So I'm a proponent of this and will do anything that I can and we can to help it move along. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Councilmen and Councilwomen. My name is Candace Price. Address is 6005 Sorensen Parkway. I'm here as a proponent wearing a couple of different hats. So first as a business owner here in Omaha and also as a board member. So I'm a board member of Omaha 100, so I've been able to watch the work and participate in the work of Melinda, who is the executive director. And I also sit on the committee for small business and our small business lending activities that happen through Omaha 100. So as previously stated by Dr. Williams, Omaha 100 is poised to be able to enact these funds, to disperse these funds, and to monitor and do proper reporting of what goes on with these funds. As a business owner, I own Home Team Auto Sales along with Ron Devers at the corner of 60th and Sorensen. And so I do have to say that I was very disheartened as we got through COVID and there was funding that came from the city and they did not recognize the hurt that was caused to small businesses by the pandemic, which would be the initial reason for these funds. We did find a way to help to bolster activities of food service businesses, not including food trucks, but there are so many other businesses in our area that lift our community. I'm a proponent of this bill because I've been able to do so much in my business with so little. And all I can do is imagine what I would have been able to do at this point had I been funded properly in the beginning, which is the opportunity that we're looking to give to so many. Also, if you guys would know, Black women are the largest creator of new businesses within our country, yet we're the least funded. We now have learned how to start businesses, but we don't scale. There's a reason for that, and a lot of it has to do with capital and the lack of access to these resources, including the wraparound services that Omaha 100 is able to provide with these funds, such as proper bookkeeping, such as a CPA, such as the ability to hire and to hire properly without it disproportionately affecting our bottom lines. The reason that's important is because the majority of Black-owned businesses do not have employees. We've pretty much learned to hire ourselves and give ourselves jobs, which does help the economy, but it sure helps it a whole lot more when we can help our community and hire those within it and bring other businesses to our state. And so that's what's done with these small businesses. Myself, as a Black woman licensed auto dealer, the only one in the state, over the last 18 months, I've been highlighted on a national scale for what I do in the auto industry. That brings attention to our state as well as our city, which is something that's definitely needed. So it would be a huge help if we could have an extra lift for the work that we're already doing and to help so many others. And then the last hat that I'm standing here as is just as a mother. I'm the mom of 2 girls. And as they continue to grow and develop in life and what they may choose to do may be in entrepreneurship, I don't want to have the conversation with them that, well, it's going to be tougher for you to get going because you don't qualify for the capital that's available to so many others. I would love to see Omaha at the forefront of that push for the equity and equality that's needed to drive minority-owned businesses because we do so much and give so much to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next proponent.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Dorothy Johnson, and I live at 2223 Dodge Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68102. And I'm also here to advocate on behalf of Omaha 100. The work that Melinda Williams has done in this community has been incredible. She has transplanted to this community and driven impact in a community that she's not native born to. Me, myself, I'm a proud North Omaha native. I graduated from Omaha North High School, and from there I went to college and decided to come back specifically to this community, my native born community. So ultimately, I really want to encourage this council. One, thank you for being here, but also to ask you all to invest in traditionally marginalized and traditionally underestimated communities. And for you all to do this work and to empower this work through Omaha 100 is an incredibly fruitful idea, giving us the power and the ownership to educate inside of our communities and elevate these communities. I also wear many hats. I'm the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion at a national venture capital firm, and we're investing in traditionally underestimated communities in 44 markets. So not only do I do this work locally, I do this work nationally. Melinda, the 100, the Chamber, Candace Price, we've come here in numbers to show support of this initiative. So I just want to come and represent Melinda, my community, also my children, as Candace said. But I want to encourage you all, please give us the tools so we can mobilize, educate, and fund ourselves inside of these communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Frank Hayes. I'm the owner of Hayes and Associates. We are a CPA firm here in Omaha. We've been in business doing this kind of work for over 40 years. In that capacity, I've worked with many different
Frank, just your address for the record, too.
Sorry?
Just your address for the record, too.
Oh, my address is 1015 North 98th Street. That's where our office is. I live at 2703 North 53rd here in Omaha. I just want to speak on behalf of this whole concept. The funding that will be used, I don't know if anyone's spoken, I was a little late, I apologize for that, but one of the reasons why during COVID, PPP funds were not awarded to minority-owned businesses was because they didn't understand the process and they didn't have the capacity, sometimes due to funding, to generate the necessary financial statements and information that was needed to receive that funding. As a result of that, there were many organizations, and you guys probably have heard about it, particularly minority and black organizations, that did not receive funding under PPP. That's a significant issue. It was a significant issue, and it continues to have a significant impact on minority and particularly black-owned businesses in the country as well as the city. So I would encourage you to support this initiative. I also have the privilege of working with Melinda since she's been on board at Omaha 100, and we have a long history with Omaha 100, even before Melinda came along. And so we're very familiar with the organization. It's a very sound financial organization. They do things the right way, and they go out and find the appropriate people and resources to do that. So I would encourage you to support this initiative on behalf of the Omaha 100.
Thank you. Next proponent.
Good afternoon. My name is B.C. Clark. I'm with the Business Connection. My address is 6102 North 102nd Street. That's my business address. My address is 8305 Weber Street. And I'm here in support of Melinda, and I'll tell you why. I'm a trainer. I've been training business owners and doing programs for them for the last 8 years, directly in the community, North and South Omaha. During the pandemic, a lot of, as Frank talked about, a lot of the business owners could not, they didn't understand how important it was to have financial education in order to be able to have good records. And so when the pandemic did hit, a lot of them that didn't have reserves, they were lost. They either had to shut down, they closed, some of them pivoted, the ones who had a finger on the finances. So we understand that the education is really important, and over the past 7.5 years, I know I've trained and worked with over 3,500 black and brown-owned businesses, and entrepreneurs daily coming in. And the key that I think that's so great is Melinda has her finger on what's needed. And I think a lot of times when we've had programs, maybe they weren't directed in the right area, but now that we have someone that has a program set, they know and understand the community, they understand what's needed, those funds can be detrimental to the success of not only hundreds of businesses in the community, even though it's a smaller amount, but for the community itself. Because as we fund those businesses and they're able to bring in more money, make more money, hire more people, then that brings in more money to the community. Then you see the community begin to change. You see houses begin to get fixed up. Yards are now better. And a lot of that is just because they never had the funding or understood what it was to even be a business owner. So I'm in support of Melinda in this initiative. Again, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Other proponents? How many more, just so I know? Okay, 3 more. 4.
Good afternoon. My name is Perrin Stewart. My address is 6526 North 40th Street, and I'm the Chief of Staff of Julian Young Business Advisors. Our mission is to level the economic playing field for socially economic and disadvantaged individuals through small business and technical assistance and capacity building services. On behalf of JYBA, I would like to express our enthusiastic support of the North Omaha Sustainable Opportunity and Resilience Fund, which seeks to empower and uplift many small businesses disproportionately impacted by the recent pandemic. We believe it's crucial for our city government to sponsor and support projects such as these. This focuses on the unleveled playing field and the minority and underserved small businesses that are forced to play on unleveled playing field. The reality of the North Omaha small businesses have gone the bad end of the stick through this pandemic, and often are overlooked when it comes to city and local budgets and major city projects. This bill sends the right message that one small business in North Omaha needs to hear. It says that they matter and that they have always been a vital and valuable part of the greater Omaha economic forefront. Excuse me, sorry, I'm getting over a little cold.
Yep, doing fine.
At Julian Young Business Advisors, we spent the last decade at the forefront of this fight for economic equality and trying to level the playing field. We look forward to partnering with the Omaha 100 and Councilwoman Johnson and to lead our expertise, and insights into resources of this project, and also our technical assistance to provide to all small businesses. Our hope is that today can be a giant step forward in providing much needed assistance and support to the small businesses in North Omaha community who desperately need it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next proponent.
Hello, my name is Chardale Barnes. My business address is 2520 North 24th Street, and personal address 5635 Burdette Street. I'm here in support of the Omaha 100 for two main reasons. One is for focus, and one is for wraparound services. So for the focus piece, I think that it's important to note that the Omaha 100 has branched off to do this specific type of work. And I think that Melinda is the right person to lead that initiative. She's a very articulate, very thorough, and a very honest and transparent individual, as my time getting to know her over the years. And I also think that her commitment to seeing that these funds go towards the right ethical places is something that should be noted as well. And some of the previous folks have spoken to funds that have already been distributed and how that started to have an impact. On the piece of wraparound services, Candace spoke to that. In my business is Stable Gray. We're a branding agency, and we have a lot of companies that come to us making inquiries, looking to get branding services because they want to either start their business or grow their business. And a lot of times we have to turn them away simply because they don't have the funding. They don't have the capital to hire us to complete these services for them. And that changes the image of our entire community, the way that people view companies and the quality that they're portraying, but also their ability to communicate and help people to make better buying decisions. So there's a lot of companies out there that offer a lot of great things, but aren't necessarily communicating that to the best of their ability. And we believe that through these funding initiatives, not only will that help our business grow, but we think that the services that we provide to other businesses will help them to grow as well, because they'll have that ability to communicate more effectively. So my message is simple. These funds provide focus, and they give people the power to invest in themselves and provide wraparound services. Thank you.
Thank you. Next proponent.
Good afternoon. Willie Barney, 2416 Lake Street. I just wanted to stand in support of this. I want to thank the councilwoman for introducing it. It's vitally important that the city invest in this way through entrepreneurship. Over the last 15 years, we've had a chance to interview, poll, research over 8,000 people, primarily in North and South Omaha. One of the top priorities consistently has been entrepreneurship. How do we help grow our small businesses? Specifically, and talking to over 400 primarily Black-owned businesses, the top priorities: access to credit and capital, technical assistance. Those are the things that the community has been asking for. So this investment will make a tremendous impact as we work on the solution of creating more job opportunities in our own community. So thank you for supporting, and look forward to the next steps.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Councilwoman, Councilman. My name is Oluseyi Olowolafe. My address is 6209 North 79th Circle. I own Olowolafe Law Firm. I represent several community members and several businesses that exist right here in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a proponent of this resolution for several reasons. First and foremost, what affects majority of the plight and the issues that go on in certain neighborhoods starts off with the trauma of poverty. In order to address the trauma of poverty, you have to touch it on two bases. The first basis being social capital, which is what Omaha 100 does as it works with the individuals and the business owners to provide them the knowledge and capital in order to succeed. Not just succeed, but to know how to grow and scale their businesses. But the second aspect comes into the matter of what actual capital are they receiving. It's historically known that certain individuals, certain people, certain races do not get the lending privileges that others do. So in essence, you have a very strong business, but yet we ignore the very fundamental foundations of how can you grow and scale a business when you're not given the opportunity to do so. Omaha 100 addresses just that. It addresses both the social capital and the actual capital in order so a neighborhood can no longer be plighted with trauma of poverty, but in order to grow themselves economically and get themselves up and grow. This is an opportunity for this city and this body to do something more than what anybody else is doing. Touch people where they're at. Give them social capital, give them capital to better themselves, and then you won't have to spend money elsewhere, including tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Cheryl Weston, 1299 Farnham Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Thank you for this opportunity. And I know it might not be on this number, but congratulations on making a good choice to fill District 4. I want to say that I'm totally in support of being given this opportunity to small businesses to Omaha 100. I do not know the director personally, but I've heard nothing but good things about her and that she's turned that Omaha 100 around. I'm here also because anything that's going to help my community, which is North Omaha, because when you help North Omaha, you help all of Omaha. And many times I've heard each one of you say, it's not about which district you're there for, which district you were elected, but you're here to help all of Omaha. Omaha 100 is not asking just for a handout, they're asking for a step up. And when you help them, look at all the other parts of the community that you're helping. This is not something that we're looking at just to say, okay, well, you know, we could have, we did, and what. This is an opportunity that may not come again. So I'm asking that you would take and vote in a positive affirmative action manner to allow this to go forth and give this $1 million to Omaha 100, where they can in turn help all these other small businesses. They also do other things, as he mentioned, the wraparound, to help in other areas such as housing and so forth, credit building. Individuals that they're helping have had their a foot put on their head from growing to go and do the things that many of the other organizations that come forth from here and asked your approval for various loans, for various grants rather. So this is an opportunity for the city of Omaha. It's an opportunity for the City Council of Omaha to give this a positive affirmative. And I know we all that come forth have said the same thing, but sometimes there's issues that you need to hear over and over again so that you can do something about them. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Good afternoon. My name is Christy Ballard. My address is 11254 Newport Avenue. My business address is 1917 South 67th Street, Suite 160 by way of Suite 145 right now. I came here today just as a business owner, of course, but also just to tell you a little bit about my journey. Everyone has a different journey, and mine resides in 45 days. 45 days is what I had and documented last year to where I did not have to think about funding. It was the day that I could take my sons to the park without thinking that I would have to make an announcement that I was going to close. It was a day where myself and my husband could spend some quality time without me having to go to the store wondering how I'm going to do this. In those 45 days, it taught me that I have a superpower that I did not know of, that I had to do it. I just had to do it. You know, working and coming from corporate, like a lot of us probably have, we're the shining stars, we're the superstars in corporate world, but when it comes to your own, you don't have the resources. When I met Melinda, one of the questions that was asked, do you know what Omaha 100 is? And this was probably about maybe 3 years ago. And I said, oh yes, my husband is a part of that. And she was like, no. I'm thinking it was Omaha, 100 black men. Thank you. 100 black men. Because when I hear 100, that's where my mind goes. So she was like, no, that's not right. And she took me and we went out to lunch and she told me exactly what Omaha 100 was. That was my first time knowing that this service in Omaha was even a thing. And so I think for me it is that she is so passionate about helping the entrepreneur, helping the minority-owned business, helping the womanpreneur, that she will take you aside and tell you what resources that you need and what she is trying to get for you. So I just come to say that this that is in front of us for that Miss Juanita has put on today, it is so essential for all entrepreneurs. I know North Omaha businesses, South Omaha businesses, I know where I reside, all businesses, small business owners need the chance to be able to say and do exactly what they know how to do. So please, if you find it in your hearts, to vote yes to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next proponent.
Good afternoon. Esteemed members of the Omaha City Council, city staff, and fellow citizens, good afternoon. My name is Melinda Williams. I am the president and CEO for Omaha 100, community development financial institution here in Omaha, Nebraska. Address 2401 Lake Street, 68111. Do you need my personal?
Sorry?
Need my address too?
You're fine. That's good.
Okay, great. And here to address the program request in support of the Sustainable Opportunity and Resilience Fund, or SOAR Fund. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today. Omaha 100, as has been mentioned, is a nonprofit lender, or CDFI, and we have been focused on expanding financial equity and inclusion by removing barriers and access to capital for people in the Omaha metropolitan and surrounding areas. We help make owning a home or starting a business accessible to all through 4 main lines of financial-based support: home lending, credit consolidation loans, business lending, and real estate development. At Omaha 100, we believe ownership is a proven pathway to generational wealth, and the cornerstone of economic vitality is the creation and viability of small businesses. Small businesses in America have historically and reliably helped create prosperity. According to the Federal Reserve, small businesses are an important component of the economic success and the strong community. They are responsible for 48% of private sector employees nationwide and an important driver of local, regional economic growth and an important source of household wealth. It is a universally accepted fact of economics that small businesses drive economic growth and job creation. Today, there are 2.58 million minority-owned businesses generating $150 billion in revenue and supporting 3.56 million jobs. They are the fastest growing segment of the nation's small business owners. Yet, in spite of these significant achievements, a wide gap remains. I'd like to highlight some important statistics regarding the state of small business locally. For perspective, in Nebraska, 5.9% of businesses are businesses of color. And according to business.org, our state ranks 39th with regard to minority business owner representation. This pinpoints an opportunity for the city of Omaha to invest in a segment of the population that has not historically received the same level of access to capital. And what we know is that investment in areas of our community that have been divested for years provide an economic benefit to our entire community. The pandemic unmasked critical unmet needs related to businesses' ability to access capital to grow and scale their businesses. An example, in 2020, only 53 minority businesses in Nebraska received PPP loans. That represents 1.27%, so less than 2%, of the total 4,179 businesses that received PPP loans in Nebraska. and that is of the $1.62 billion of federal loans that went out nationwide. Only 53 minority businesses were able to access those funds. The community we serve has historically been challenged by economic disparity across 70 distressed census tracts, where at least 50% of households have income less than 50% of the area median gross income, and the city of Omaha being identified as an enterprise zone that exceeds 200% of the state's average unemployment rate. So to reiterate, providing this requested grant funding support to minority small businesses will provide an economic benefit to our entire community, creating additional tax receipts, jobs, and innovative change to a more equitable society where everyone has a chance to thrive. We as a community look to you, our elected officials, for support in ensuring our small business owners have a fair chance at setting their business up for success now and into the future. I strongly urge the council to approve Omaha 100's request to partner with the city in providing this funding. The lifeblood of business development is access to capital, access to markets, access to business networks, and trusted guidance, all of which are assets and opportunities that Nebraska and the city of Omaha offers. Please aid us in unlocking them for everyone in Omaha's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any last proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. Some of you might take my words wrong, but believe me, I wish everybody good luck and good fortune. However, I do have a complaint, a major complaint, and I'll probably get shut off and run out for it. This was not listed on the agenda as a presentation.
This is a public hearing, Larry.
Okay.
That was proponents and your opponents.
Public hearing, but it's been a presentation, and Omaha 100 was not listed on item number 7.
It is, right there on the front
Point of
page.
order, I always get called out of order, and this was out of order, okay?
It's on the agenda.
Just a
right in
minor
front of you.
complaint. Rules are rules, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Are you testifying in opposition?
Now, can I go on
And
or
you
am
can
I
proceed.
done?
Yes.
Okay. Opportunity, access, various words border on what in some circles is referred to as cultural Marxism or CRT. And some people on this board in the past have said there's no truth to any of that matter. But there is. When you try to change the terminology of our country.
So Larry, this is about a small business program, not critical race.
But we have heard it for the last hour.
Keep your comments to the funding. Or
They've
we'll
used
be out of
those
order.
words: opportunity, funding, diversity, access. I couldn't write them all down, but it's there. Funding is one thing, but investment is another. Funding is what you people do. Investing is what I do, what they do. But they're here getting funding. They're not here getting investment. And state constitution says there will be no special laws. Is this not special laws when you're taking money from parks and recreation, for example, that somebody might need an improvement in their park, which might have been the park that I live near, Metcalf, or one in North Omaha that needs improvement. But you're taking money from them to give it to somebody else?
That's not this item.
Excuse me, I think that is probably against the state law. Thank you.
Any other opponents today?
Luis Jimenez, 2709 Dewey Avenue. I think this should be more than $1 million. I think this should be $2 million. And you're not providing enough funding for the small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents today? Seeing none, public hearings closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would like to thank everyone for coming and sharing their thoughts on this important resolution. I believe we've provided the argument that this is very much needed to uplift the community in Omaha as a whole. Small businesses throughout the United States is very essential to economic growth. we as a city should want to do that. We should do everything that we can to assist in this endeavor. We also have sentiments from the state of Nebraska that has recognized the need in this eastern part of the city to help with small businesses in the tune of $340 million. So this resolution was put forth to echo those sentiments, to stand beside and show the state that we are very, very much appreciative of that recognition that these funds are needed. And no better way to do that than to stand firm and support an initiative of supporting small businesses and providing the tools necessary for the operator to provide those fundings throughout this community. I stand in support of this resolution. I thank you for coming and standing in support of the resolution with me. I move to approve this.
Thank you. I'll offer a few comments, and then we'll see if there's a second. I would just say I appreciate Councilmember Johnson bringing this item to us, and I definitely appreciate all the testimony we had here today. A speaker said, have this in your heart, and I want you to know this is in my heart. And I think Councilmember Johnson knows that too. And I do support and agree with everything you observed here today, and I support your individual efforts and also the efforts of Omaha 100, and also the efforts of Senator McKinney. I appreciate what he's doing with what used to be LB 1024 and now 531 and the process that's unrolling as we speak. And I know that Omaha 100 was recommended initially for a major portion of that funding. And I hope that does come to fruition, and I want to support that any way I can. As Councilmember Johnson knows, however, I'm in a difficult position today in that the funding source this resolution proposes to use is in direct conflict with the funding source that I have on the agenda item and a couple items here and that I submitted several weeks ago. So that's why I'm unable to support this today or unable to provide a second, regrettably. Thank you. Ms. Melton, you're recognized.
Yes, and I would agree with you, and I've been keeping up with, I think, where that funding is going. I think I read in the paper the state funds that Senator McKinney is working on. Now there's a new application process. I'm hoping that that's going to go smoothly. I'm supporting your efforts there. I think that this group was one of the groups that was at least up for the funding that I read in the article. I fully support that if there's anything the city council can do. Senator McKinney, I share with you and Senator Wayne that I fully support that and hope that that continues to get done. My issue is that we start working on this budget. I start meeting with the mayor. By the way, we'll pass it today. We'll start working on the budget for the following year, 2025, in, I think, Mr. Curtis, February, March, you'll start working on it. There is a process for the budget. And so when we have either we're taking it out of cash reserves, which I know that just sounds so easy to do, but by the way, we can't just every time we want something, we take it out of our savings account, so to speak. And I think there is a process in the mayor's office. Chief Warren, I'm wondering if would you mind coming down for a moment, because there's a process for asking for community funds through the mayor's office. And if you could just provide that, because I think this would be a great opportunity for the mayor's office, perhaps Amber, to meet with this group. Previously, I know with ARPA funds, we provided funding for Front Porch, which also does some of the similar to what this organization does, provide the low interest loans for lower income. But we weren't able to use the funds to provide loans because we're limited in our ability to do that. So we can provide for operating costs and expenses, but we're a little limited in how we can provide money for loans. So Chief Warren, do you want to explain the process for applying to the mayor's office for grants so that we can, maybe get this moving for next year, and how you do that?
Sure. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the City Council, Thomas Warren, Mayor's Office. You raised a couple of issues. One with grant funds. Respectfully, the community services grant that the mayor will make available every year to organizations through an application process. As you mentioned, that process starts as early as February or March of the preceding fiscal year. Those funds are limited typically to operations. Talked about ARPA funds. We did have a process where we allocated dollars, and small business development, quite frankly, was one of the acceptable categories. However, when we surveyed the community with respect to those dollars, small business development didn't emerge as one of the priority areas. And as you know, we've allocated over $100 million from the American Rescue Plan Act for several categories, including revenue loss. And so those funds have already been obligated. What I would encourage individuals, organizations, particularly Omaha 100, if they are interested in pursuing an opportunity for funding from the City of Omaha, to communicate that similar to the proposal that is attached to this agenda. And it would be given all due consideration. But there is a process, and in this instance, as has been mentioned, not only has the budget been submitted, a balanced budget has been submitted. This particular resolution would have an impact where the mayor has identified property tax relief with the levy reduction that has been proposed, as well as other agenda items that will be considered. There are implications, quite frankly, for considering this request at this point in time.
And part of, you're up here instead of calling Mr. Curtis, but I think you're aware of the process, so I'm just going to kind of ask you and present this. Previously, when I first got on council, when council members had maybe different community service organizations that they felt should be given some funding, what we did is I went to the mayor and I would talk to the mayor about it during the budget process when I have those meetings with her, the frequent meetings with her in the winter, spring, really all the way up until I think May is when she's finalizing. But other council members would try and adjust the budget at this time. So Mayor Stother then kind of set aside $350,000 for the city council to determine how that $350,000 should be used. And she did that again in this budget. And I think we see some other items on this agenda where each one of us kind of, I guess over time, Mr. Festerson, over time it kind of became, basically each council member has 50,000, because then that equals 350,000. And that helped so that we weren't taking away and decreasing another department's budget or saying, I'm going to take away from another community service fund that's already kind of had the funds allocated. So we have some on here, and 50,000 could be used, that Ms. Johnson could be used to go towards this organization. I don't know that it's on here. But that's kind of been the process for when we want allocation of funds to community service. We go to the mayor, we start the application, have them start the application process with the mayor, and or we have up to basically 50,000 per council member to allocate. And that's kind of been the process that we followed for the last couple of years.
That's correct, and that's a community service grant. Correction. The city council members have discretion to allocate those funds, but we do have a community services grant program that we probably have 2.5 million or thereabouts appropriated for that purpose. Organizations are invited to apply for those dollars. There are organizations that receive funding through community block grant development, as well as other funding sources, but the requests are made in advance of the budget preparation for the upcoming fiscal year. And so where certainly I would suggest that the City of Omaha would be supportive of these endeavors, including small business development but there's a process in terms of submitting those requests. And as I mentioned, for this current year, the budget has been presented. A balanced budget has been presented, and so any further consideration will defer to the city council.
And because I think this would be a great group, and I would ask that if you don't have this organization's contact information, if you could provide that to Chief Warren, and perhaps he could get, Amber could get in contact with them to provide them with the application process so that this organization can get into that application process with the mayor's office for next year, in next year's budget process. My problem is just all of reallocating $1 million on the day when we have to vote for the budget. I think I have a fiscal responsibility to all of the taxpayers, and a fiduciary responsibility not to just be moving $1 million around at the very last minute. We've had the time to review all of the other amendments for weeks, to discuss it with Steve Curtis, and also to make sure that what we've allocated, we're not taking away from any other budget item. To where here, agenda items 7 and 8, it appears to be the same thing, just different funding sources. And I can say that we'll take the budget out of budget. I mean, it won't be balanced if we were to do this, or we would have to then decrease libraries by over 800,000. And we've already made commitments and contracts where we have to have that library personnel hired for a new library. So it's not that I don't support this measure, and I think what I'm hearing from you, it's not that you don't necessarily support supporting this organization, but maybe go through the process that the mayor's office has for those funds. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And even with all of the allocations for any group that's on our agenda right now, if it's going to a community service organization, I thought Amber was here. I was going to call her down, but you're on the hot seat, so you're going to have to, sorry.
Okay.
Even if we approve the money, it doesn't necessarily mean that the groups will get the money, because they still have to go through the process, the application, because the funds the city is limited by what we can do. And in fact, loans may not be something we can do. What we can do is help with the operating expenses and some of the other things that these organizations can do. So that would be something that you could work with the different applicants in figuring out what the city can cover and can't cover, and then how that can be worked into next year's budget.
That's correct. I mean, there are guidelines, there are some requirements. Obviously, for compliance purposes, all of that is spelled out in the application process. We would communicate with that particular organization and the applicant to explain exactly what those funds can be utilized, what they cannot be utilized for, but that is done in advance or during the actual application process.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your willingness to meet with this organization and maybe start that process for next year. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Milton, for pointing out processes. But this question is for Mr. Curtis. Mr. Curtis, have we not ever in the history of budget brought such situation as this resolution before City Council to counter the proposed budget before? Has that ever happened before?
I guess I can only speak to the last 10 years since I've been here. I would suspect that has occurred over the last 10 years, but I don't think anything to this magnitude as far as this size.
So to suggest that we have a process and that perhaps it cannot be broken is simply not correct. We do have a process, and just like anything that we do, there are exceptions. Would you agree to that?
Certainly there are exceptions.
Okay. And we just came out of a pandemic, which hasn't happened since early 1990s, the last pandemic that we had. This is certainly cause for a pause to look at making an exception. And small businesses, as Chief Warren mentioned, a survey was done to look at or analyze the need for ARPA funds as it relates to the city, and small businesses didn't surface. They didn't come up to the top. But it doesn't say or suggest that the need isn't there. So again, I'm strongly, I strongly believe that this is an opportunity for us to make an exception to help small businesses as we plan to revitalize our communities. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to make an exception, do the right things. We have all these individuals here that has presented the argument, presented the why, and yet this body isn't willing to flex, isn't willing to adjust. I think this is an opportunity for this body to say, hey, we stand in solidarity, once again, for this community, once again in solidarity with the state, to assist small businesses. Should we not adjust, then we're saying that, oh well, we're gonna miss out on an opportunity where we can actually help our community, put a reduction in crime, save kids' lives, and we're unwilling to make an adjustment. We want to be in a box. This is a sad day for Omaha, Nebraska, especially when we continue to say we want to help the community. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further lights, Madam Clerk, I believe the item died for a second. Is that correct? For lack of second?
Correct.
There was no second. The item fails on the agenda. Next item, please.
Item 8, a resolution to approve a revision to the 2024 budget to increase the general fund and community service programs by $1 million for Omaha 100, Inc.
This is the public hearing and vote on number 8. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. I also have to have a public hearing on this just for process reasons. Proponents on number 8. Seeing none, any opponents? Yep.
Hi. Good afternoon. Hello, Council. My name's Keegan Korf. I reside at 1936 South 37th Street, Omaha, Nebraska 68105. I'm here today both as a resident of Omaha in Councilman Begley's district and as an Omaha Public Library Board trustee in opposition to Resolution 2023-0920, Agenda Item Number 8, seeking for a reallocation of funds by Councilwoman Johnson specifically to decrease in library personnel funds of $928, excuse me. While I appreciate Councilwoman Johnson's dedication to helping fund important community initiatives and nonprofit organizations such as Omaha 100, organizations that serve the North Omaha community, my suggestion to support such programs would not include taking funding specifically from the library budget, especially during a year when such historic development projects for the library are underway. I'm currently the most tenured member of the Omaha Public Library Board of Trustees, serving in my 6th year and my 3rd term. In my years of service to the library, I'll say that the efforts to bolster the library's funding in order to meet the staffing needs of a system preparing to expand with more branches have been significant, and much to our pleasure are being met by the city with Mayor Stothart's support for 2024. In order to best serve a community receiving a significant philanthropic gift in the form of a new central library, to support the capital and operational costs of a future Southwest branch, which is very needed, and to continue to provide innovative services and programs for the entire library system across the city. The city budget must supplement the cost of operations in order to staff these free, accessible to all library spaces and programs. This dedication to increasing the library budget has been requested year after year from the community during budget hearing time, and we're finally seeing an increase that aligns with other systems across the country. To that, we're extremely grateful. On behalf of the Omaha Public Library Board of Trustees, I respectfully request a no vote on Resolution 2023-0920. Thank you.
Thank you. Other opponents?
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Marlene. I'm the Executive Director of Omaha Public Library. My office is at 3020 South 84th Street, and I'm here to speak against this resolution. For the past 2 years, the library has been working really hard with Heritage Services, our foundation, DOTComm, to envision this new library building. And this is more than just a building. This is an opportunity that the library has never had to expand our capacity and further our work in the community. And that includes programs for literacy and digital equity. The incorporation of DOTComm will certainly be a huge boost to our ability to improve digital equity at all of our libraries. These are system-wide changes, and they would really benefit the community we serve. And I hope you see that and encourage a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Other opponents to number 8?
Donnie Johnson, the Johnson Equestrian Foundation, North Omaha Concerned Citizen Foundation. It was my understanding number 8 was to be adjusted for medical marijuana growths at the library.
That is not the understanding, no.
Oh, sorry, I'm wrong.
Other opponents to number 8?
Mr. President, members of the council, Matt Kalsevich, Parks and Recreation Director. I do want to say, as much as I respect and value what has been shared here today, it's my responsibility to advocate for resources and allocation for the Parks and Recreation Department. And so I am in opposition to this budget amendment to reduce the allocation of the Parks and Recreation budget in 2024. These 2 positions were specifically requested to further initiatives based on community feedback, growing needs, and improving access across the community. The addition of the recreation coordinator is specific to the expansion of our camp program. We have consistently had to leave hundreds on the waiting list, and this action would allow us to expand to include more than almost 800 spaces over the next 2 years. This is in addition to almost 600 openings added in 2023 that have already added additional stress to our current staff situation. This will also add capacity to include more scholarships to any student resident who qualifies for free and reduced lunch to access camps at a much reduced rate. The Planner 1 position proposed is part of accommodating the growth over the last decade in the city and the Parks and Recreation Department. There's a need to accelerate the development of basic infrastructure such as playgrounds, spray grounds, trail connections, and other important features that have been put on hold due to the limited capacity of current staffing numbers. With the addition of several other major projects, of which the Parks and Recreation Planning Team will be heavily involved, this new staff member would also assist with all day-to-day functions, creating more capacity for the entire team to contribute as needed to those high-level initiatives. The Parks and Recreation Department performs a comprehensive review of its needs annually, and the budget recommendation for 2024 reflects the additions that will make the largest impact and were deemed most significant. Not moving forward on these additions will delay other potential actions being prepared for the next several years in future budgets. We ask that you maintain what is proposed with the requested funding for Parks and Recreation and deny this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Other opponents?
Good afternoon, Jake Linder, Park Planning, 1819 Farnham. Mr. Kalsevich hit on most of it, but the main reason for the addition on the Park Planning 1 position is that we need capacity to conduct exercises such as an inventory of park facilities. This would allow focused staff member to keep that updated for future use. The workload of the current Planner 2s does not allow them to manage functions like this. Other projects such as updating park signage has been set aside. In addition, this position could handle this project as well as other basic needs like the design of new features in our parks. The addition of the Planner 1 will help with the focus on repair projects, allowing the Planner 2s to better assist with drafting and some other work that is currently done by consultants, which we can do in-house at this point. In addition, 30 years ago, Park and Recreation Department only had 4 planners/designers. Currently, we only have 3. Considering all that has been added in that time, we are well behind and on our keeping up in that indeed. Eventually, we'll have turnover of employees, and we like to train a Planner 1 to possibly become a Planner 2. We would then have the structure to promote from within and build stability and being a long-term planning and visioning. Thank you.
Thank you. Other opponents?
Good afternoon. Chris Averling, City Recreation Manager, 1819 Farnham. I'd like to emphasize the undeniable necessity of adding a recreation coordinator to our 2024 budget. Our community has experienced significant growth, and the demands from the public for recreational opportunities have skyrocketed. This proposed position is not just a luxury, but a vital resource that will help us meet the increasing demand of our camp programs. We've listened to the voices of the community members who have consistently expressed the need for more camps and recreational opportunities throughout our city. Currently, our camps are so popular that they fill up quickly, leaving hundreds of eager campers on the waiting list each summer. By bringing in additional staff, we can launch an 8-week camp accommodating an extra 800 children every summer. This year, we're extending Camp Adams to 8 weeks, and the same transformation will happen at Camp Hanscom, which will then relocate to Mandan Park in 2025, becoming the exciting Camp Mandan. This wilderness camp will rival the highly regarded Hummel Day Camp, but to make it a reality, it will require dedicated staff to focus on its preparation. Our existing team is already stretched thin, and without this vital addition, we risk failing our youth, leaving them without the amazing camp experience that they deserve. Our commitment to assessing and addressing community needs should lead us to expand these youth opportunities. Our camps teach crucial life skills, promote water safety, foster teamwork, and provide opportunities for children from all corners of Omaha to forge lasting friendships. Let us not miss this opportunity to invest in our community's future and provide for our youth with the experiences they need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Other opponents?
Hi, Lauren Foster, 6016 South 96 Court, Apartment 3, Omaha, Nebraska, 68127. So first, I just want to say Suicide Prevention Week. So I hope everyone is cultivating self-love by embracing who you are. Head to queerarchy.com, queerarchy.com to purchase a self-love kit if you're interested. All right, so I am the vice chair of the Parks and Recreation Board. This is my second term serving on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and I am not in favor to the city's request to reobligate $200,000 of our city Parks and Recreation budget to fund a nonprofit. As a federal employee who is certified in federal procurement in Section 3, working to understand the housing industry, maintaining funds, and investing more into our city parks is essential to community development and economic development as a whole. I was intentionally trained through the Greater Omaha Chamber's Economic Development Department. This decision to move government funds to a 501c3 not only feels problematic, but raises many red flags as to what internal conversations are being had to allow City Council time to be spent on agenda items such as this. 501c3s have a plethora of freedom and resources to raise funds to solve their missions. City funds are a precious resource, and during a time when our state prisons have been past capacity for over a decade, new prisons are being developed, higher investment into law enforcement have been made, and we are asking the City Council to reallocate funds that would be used to continue to build safe and community-centric parks and programming, raises questions as to what mission our community is serving. I am not questioning the motives of our city council or a city, as I do not have enough information to do that. I'm merely asking for a pulse check to see if the heart of the city is still beating. Because if the heart is not beating for the safety, security, joy, and right for our children to be seen as children and raised as children.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I think you're off topic here. You have to address the funding suggestion here for the Parks and Library departments to go to Omaha 100.
Yes, that is what I am suggesting.
It didn't sound like it, so get back on topic or else we'll call you out of order, okay?
That's fine. Okay. So yeah, the nonprofit being asked to be funded originated the same year of my birth to respond to the inequities and lack of home ownership opportunities in our community. 30 years later, their mission still lives on as my generation is still sacrificing time, energy, and the mental capacity to correct these deep-seated roots. So you have the team and the volunteers in place to make your city budget work appropriately. So I'm asking you to put trust and faith into your parks director and vote to not reallocate these funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents on number 8? Welcome.
And you can call me out of order if I'm not doing this properly. Thank you. So, my reason for being opposed.
Just your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Yep.
It's Margot Juarez, and my address is 5170 O'Hearn Street. And I'm opposing any decrease in the parks funds because I am frustrated that my request to improve my park has been ignored. And I contacted Mr. Palermo back in February 16th of 2022. And I expressed my interest in improving my neighborhood park. And I had Sarah, who came from the department, who had a meeting with my neighbors so that we could go over a plan of improving the Red Mundling Park in my neighborhood. I was told in April of 23 that they were waiting to hear back on a grant application from the Papio Missouri River NRD. So I have concerns that the funds in the Parks Department are declining. I have a concern that my interest in improving my park have been completely ignored when I see that other city parks are getting funds. You have 2 parks in the consent agenda that you are looking to improve upon, let alone the park, I believe was Tranquility, to get funds there. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because as you can see by these dates, I have been trying for a while to improve my city park, and here I sit. No action, no funds, no nothing. So I'm sure the fact that that the Parks and Rec are going to get lowered in funds is not a good thing for me. I brought the preliminary drawing that I have of my park, which is dated March 16th of 2023. And again, I want to emphasize, look at what the date is today and no action. And I'm extremely frustrated. I'm also a leader in the Buena Vista Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents to number 8?
Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. The word nonprofit is becoming rather confusing anymore, and a way to maybe make a living for yourself for a lot of people. But a lot of nonprofits are working against the citizens. You know, I'd like to see our local bodies help North Omaha without having to give money away all the time. This is not on me. I'm not a racist. This is on our local leaders that have gone all the way back in the years for not helping develop areas of North Omaha that should be. I drive down Hamilton Street. A lot of those houses probably should be blighted. I don't know if you've blighted it yet or not, but you're getting close to my neighborhood.
Got to keep your topics to the funding proposition.
And I'm not getting funding to pay my property taxes. Why do a lot of people get to come and ask money as a nonprofit? The executives get paid, the employees get paid. It's a way of running a business, but somebody else is paying for it, is it not? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponents to number 8? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This question is for the public library. If someone could come up and answer a few questions. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Obviously, I'm a big proponent for the library. It's doing wonderful thing. I'm very supportive of the library down in the downtown area. So just for point of clarification, because the public really does need to know about these funds that we are in opposition for, when will the new building be built on 72nd in Dodge?
Construction will be starting soon, and it's planned to open in 2026.
So in 2026, so may I ask the position of the staffing that these funds are being allocated for?
These funds will add staff that will support our new facilities plan and our strategic plan and prepare them so that they're ready when we open to move forward with partnerships and advance those two programs.
And when will these individuals be hired?
Early 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bagley.
Thanks, Mr. President. Laura, sorry, or Ms. Korf, can you come down for a second? One of you, thanks. Either one. Laura, thanks. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming down today. So, to be clear, I've been on the library committee for 2 years and was referenced our new beautiful library on 72nd Dodge. You're looking, I know my friend Councilmember Rowe has talked about a library in southwest part of Omaha that is on the docket being looked at, being studied. When we've had meetings on the library committee that I sat on for the first 2 years in the council, some of the things that, the simple things in the library you were looking at were the pay of the personnel, correct?
Yes.
And there were steps taken to address that by increasing the pay of people that work the library system, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And going forward, the budget for the Omaha Public Library has been increased this year, correct?
Yes, significantly.
And that is it fair to say also that the hours at the Omaha Public Libraries have been extended?
Yes, we've added an hour Monday through Thursdays, and we expect that we'll be doing that again as we ramp up towards Central Library opening.
Okay, thanks for that. And when you do that, that increases the budget for the library as far as expenses go, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if there's positions eliminated from the library budget that is proposed right now, does that hurt the library system, and does that hurt families that want to go enjoy our beautiful libraries in Omaha?
Yes. Right now, we are at capacity, barely at capacity, and our ability to expand programming the way our patrons have suggested and requested is very limited. Adding these positions, they'll be working on system-wide changes that will allow us to improve programming at all of our locations and to extend hours and to meet the needs of the community.
Okay, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. And Ms. Korf, thanks for coming down today and for your email and all you have done. I've learned from you being on the council, your experience and being a subject matter expert with Laura. It's helped me greatly on my first 2 years. Thanks, Laura. Thanks. I got a question for Matt if you're hot in the box there.
Matt Kalsovich, Parks and Recreation Director.
Good afternoon, Matt. We had a couple conversations, and one of your staff members here, that planner position that is being discussed here today. Tell me a little bit about what that position does again, so I'm clear on that.
Absolutely. So we're trying to introduce this entry-level position to really accommodate some of the workload that's had to really sit off to the side. And it's about our bigger development. It's about furthering some of the projects that we have. It's about adding some of the infrastructure and catching up on some of the basic things that we haven't had the ability to do in recent years with new playgrounds, new spray grounds, things coming into existence at the pace they should be for a community like ours and a park system like ours. So, and as Jake mentioned, you know, the capacity that we had, 30 years ago, and even having less people contributing to that to keep up with some of those needs, on this day, we're trying to take that step forward again to keep up with, again, the demand and the infrastructure issues that we're having of a system the size and age of ours.
That's a great explanation. And we also had talked about the coordinator position that we're discussing here today. Talk a little bit about, again, the parks that we had talked about, the summer programs. And I know I was trying to remember, and it came to me without phoning a friend. Mr. Fanslaw didn't remember it, but I remembered before you got up. It was Fontenelle Forest, my brothers and I, and neighborhood kids. Way back in the 80s, we took a bus from our school and went down in Bellevue there, right off 13th Street. And my kids were able to enjoy, along with their friends. They went to Hummel Camp every summer. And I would take my dad and my mom there, and we'd enjoy the last day, and the counselors were terrific. Talk a little bit about this coordinator position, how that would impact what I just described from 40 years ago when I did it to when my kids did it 20 years ago, and what that'll look like now at this position. Will it increase the number of kids that can go to this?
Absolutely. So there's a significant jump forward with the addition of this. And the thing I will add is even what we're addressing here, and it went back to one of the statements I made earlier, only helps us take one step forward. There's several other steps that the addition of this position will help us move toward, but maybe not quite get to yet, but it's the step in the process we have to take. As far as camps are concerned, and you're right, you mentioned Fontenelle Forest. Mandan is really kind of an extension of that beautiful stretch that's unique to this area. So very much like Hummel, Mandan will be produced in the similar style of adventure camp. And that's really the camp that people want to get into most of all. So addressing that specifically here in a 2-year transition is really going to help us take care of, somewhere between, like I mentioned, additional 600 people this year, as many as 800 participants over the next 2 years. We'll have Hummel, Adams, Zorinsky, Hanscom that will all exist in 8-week formats, and then that Hanscom footprint will be moved over to Mandan in 2025, providing 4 8-week camps across the city, distributed in a way that we feel like everyone has access, and then again, this planning possibility that opens up with the coordinator position, really focusing on the development of that new piece.
I really like the sound of that and studying that. And again, that goes from 4 weeks before, now the camps are 8 weeks. So
it's really adding an additional 8-week camp here in this transition. Right now, Adams and Hanscom share 8 weeks. So we have 3 different places that offer 8 weeks in total. This really produces the opportunity to add an additional 8-week camp next year, and then its new permanent home in Mandan in 2025. So really bringing us into a new era of opportunity. It's really burst into a new level of interest over the last 5-6 years since we've established some of these camps. Hummel goes way back, but some of these other camps are relatively young. So to keep up with that need is critical.
I appreciate your explanation on that, and I know you get a lot of emails, and I won't speak for my colleagues, but I know you probably hear from me on a weekly basis on issues we got in various parks in my district. I know there's 256 parks. I did phone a friend to make sure I had that answer. I was off by 4. Thanks for
Close.
the answer.
Yeah.
It is important. All these moving parts of the Parks Department, from Trimenum to the planning in Dolman Park, People Park, Clarkson have been had some ARPA money infused into in my district, and the coordinator position with the summer camp, I couldn't be more supportive of that. And the planner, as was said, there was 4 of them 30 years ago, and now there's 3, and I'm assuming there were not 256 parks 30 years ago. Is that fair to say?
No. It's grown quite a bit in recent years.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Matt, I have a few questions for you. With this proposal of new employee, new additional staff, we still have communities that were blessed with ARPA funds. Things like parks like Coons Park, Adams Park, Lizzie Robinson Parkway, Martin Luther King. Those things have been allocated using ARPA funds
Correct.
to be improved upon.
Yes.
But yet they fail to be done. Will these additional staffers ensure that this work is going to get done quicker, or will we continue to be pushed further and further and further back on the priority list?
The ARPA projects are in motion as strategized, and we do have a specific staff person dedicated to the ARPA projects outside of everything else that we're responsible for taking care of. So those are really two different ideas as far as ARPA investment and the additional investment in our system. This position will absolutely help move all of what we're trying to accomplish forward. The ARPA projects are still very much on track to be completed in the time frame that we've been provided. And in this case, we're working through city policy, federal policy. We have almost half of those out to bid and entering a time of construction here in the near future. And the next wave, and we did set up a priority about ARPA projects happening within the window of time that we were allocated, will activate and launch accordingly. And all of that should still very much be on track to finish as was required by the ARPA allotment.
And as I stated before, for my community, can you give us timelines when those ARPA funds for the improvement in which those parks that have been identified that we just discussed, when we can expect them to be completed?
I won't stand up here and project about things that we don't have all the details on at this point. Again, our ARPA timeline is allocation of money in '24, completion of all projects by the end of '26. That's very much the path we're on at this point, to have everything completed within those windows of time.
So we have no timeline when those are going to be complete, and adding these additional staffers is not going to assist with getting those projects done any faster.
You're asking about ARPA specific projects. I've given you the information we have on that. This position is about everything else in our system, non-ARPA, of which we have a long list of things we need to pay attention to and invest in, of which every council district is included in that list.
Thank you for